DeLuna Coffee is owned and operated by diehard Florida State fans and boosters, the Lemmix family in Pensacola. So cut them some slack for their Hurricane blend. No green and orange, and it's definitely not all about some random letter in the alphabet. It simply is a blend for those of you who love that strong coffee flavor without bitterness. DeLuna has combined 2 different South American beans with a Hawaiian bean. In fact, the Hurricane blend has won as many ACC titles as the school in Coral Gables. Try it or one of their other 24 blends and get a discount when you use the promo code WARCHANT15. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.
From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee.
Coffee's for closers only.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee, DeLunaCoffee.com. Come explore our world of coffee, Warchant.com. Meanwhile, your ultimate Seminole sports source. Promo code is Warchant30. iTunes, folks, we have a bit of a solution. So if you're on an iTunes, Apple device, use the podcast app, go ahead and search for Wake Up Warchant. You'll probably see 2 results pop up. One of them is going to have the DeLuna Coffee logo on it, on the thumbnail artwork. Tap on that one. Subscribe to that one. We've had 2 divergent feeds for over a year now, I think, but they've both populated the podcast, so you really haven't missed on anything. But for some reason, one of them has kind of gone dormant, and the other one is now active. So, again, if you're on an Apple device, iPad, use the iTunes or the podcast app, just search for Wake Up Warchant. You'll see 2 results. Tap on the one that's got the DeLuna Coffee logo on the artwork, and you should be back up to speed. There are some folks that listened on other devices, CastBox, Podcast Republic. We're trying to figure this all out. It's for some reason it's not a one-button fix, so it's kind of it's like a push and pull thing. But we realize it's not 100% up and running and functional, so we do apologize. But we are trying certainly our hardest to get everything fixed and ready for you. In the meantime, Google Podcast app has been pretty reliable, Spotify, YouTube, and again, I think we're pretty good on iTunes. Are you doing pretty good, Corey Clark?
I am. Don't you think you should maybe tweet that too? Because you're telling people that have already found us how to find it. So maybe we should tweet that out too as well. So people that aren't listening to our voices right now will be able to go back and listen to all the great shows of the last week.
Well, yeah, you retweeted it. I retweeted it, and the Warchant account tweeted it. I mean, basically, I think.
Oh, well, there we go. Then we're good. We're
Yeah.
all set. We're all set. It's we apologize. It sounds like it was out of our control.
It was kind of. It's it's not like, it's not like we put all the podcasts up on a website called warchant.com/podcast. Like, podcasts go through this whole weird kind of system called the RSS feed. I don't want to get too nerdy on it, but it's not like we upload it onto iTunes. We upload it to this one website, which then is supposed to spit it out to Google Podcasts and iTunes and Spotify, yada, yada, yada. And then it's like, well, it's spitting it out to 80% of them. Why isn't it doing it to all of them? And it was working totally fine. We haven't touched anything in months, and all of a sudden it just stops working. So it's a bit frustrating. And thank you all for hanging in there. Everyone's been tweeting and posting on the message boards asking us what's going on, but no one's getting angry. So that's always a good thing. I appreciate your acceptance, everybody. Otherwise, you're doing all right, Corey. Though you're good here, good, feeling good.
I am. I wanted to give a quick apology to Danny, not Greg.
Close though, close.
How do I come up with Greg? I finally I emailed some people. Stephanie and I looked at the Pacers' entire staff catalog.
Nice.
For an hour last night, and I'm like, well, there's a Greg, but that's not him. There's a Greg. There's a Gary. And finally, through some emails back and forth with other people from the Pacers and that were running the NCAA site, I found out his name is Danny. Nice. So, Danny, you're the best. I won't call you Greg anymore.
There we go. Shout out, Danny. What's going on? Noles and the pros, man. We're everywhere. Front offices, on the court, behind the scenes.
Yeah, he's got a real job, a big-time job for the Pacers. I probably should have been nervous talking to him when I read up his resume, a little bit of his resume on LinkedIn. And then his job title, I'm like, man, I should have been calling him sir. I feel bad now.
Also, we have a friend of the program listens that's high up on the food chain at NASCAR. Like, I don't know, like it's not sea level, but I mean, pretty darn close. So important people listen to the show, everybody. And so feel it's cool. We can all network together. I'll be asking you guys for like trade labor help here in the next few weeks, as the Midtown offices is most likely going to be on the move, but no one wants to hear about that.
Right.
We have a really cool roundtable up right now on warchant.com for our subscribers. Again, the promo code is warchant30. We talk about pretty much everything under the sun right now after only being able to really experience and witness whatever 6 practices, only a handful of those. We talked a little bit about that scholarship, that one that's left, and whether or not it should go to an offensive lineman or a wide receiver. Homeboy, a poster on Warchant said that, I wasn't around back then probably. I don't know if it was condescending or not, but I'll take him for his word for me. He's probably a good Samaritan. That back in 2000, there were so many injuries that they had to go to a 6-string guy at some point in 2000. I don't remember. I don't have the post in front of me either, but Nick Maddox got thrust into duty. So having 5 running backs is not a bad thing. So point noted.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah, exactly.
The first question from the top is, what are your impressions of the quarterback competition so far? And I always like when I'm in alignment with Ira, because Ira is pretty level-headed and uses, objectivity. He doesn't get very emotional.
Right.
But he kind of said that he felt kind of silly thinking that he was going to see the guy from Orlando walk onto the field in Tallahassee and start throwing the ball around, which that's been my surprise so far, is that I thought, Corey, that he was going to come here and he was going to be able to bury his nose in the playbook before he got to Tallahassee. He was going to come in here and have just a really good feel for what Norvell wanted to do. This is obviously it's a offense for playmakers. They'd be able to really kind of cater things to him, and if not so much cater things to him, but at least help explain to him what he needs to know by the time he gets here. Once he gets here, player run practices, the things to work on, that by the time he got here, the ball would at least be going to where it's got to go on time, and he would know where to go with it. We would all be worried about whether or not he could would he be throwing the ball too quickly because he would feel scared about the pressure and skittish about his leg. And it's kind of like been the inverse. Physically, he's running around just fine. At least it seems to me. He's scrambling. He doesn't seem to be skittish at all in the pocket. He still has a pretty good feel for the pressure that's coming around him, and he's not seeing and feeling ghosts. But he doesn't seem to have a firm grasp of this offense. Now, again, you could probably all be yelling at your phones and your car stereo right now. Of course not. He's only been here for 2 weeks, you idiot, to which I say touche. But I just felt like, with him playing so many snaps of college football, like again, Kenny, I think, said it. Listen, like, every offense has got 4 verticals. Every offense has got like a dig and an out. Like, they all run the same combinations of routes and have similar concepts, that you would feel that he would come here and kind of come to him second hand, and he'd be pretty quick at it. But nonetheless, I'm not discouraged by it. I think that will grow, and he'll learn, and he'll get more comfortable the more reps he gets. But that's kind of what caught me by surprise so far in the quarterback competition. And the touch that Jordan Travis has had on his deep throws.
Yeah, look, and that's part of it. That's where I was going to go, is like, we were all asked what were our impressions of it were. And I think to a man, all 4 of us said, well, Jordan Travis is legitimately in this battle. It's, to my mind, it's a 2-person battle. Chuba, just can't get right physically. And I don't think Rodemaker's really in contention this year to beat out these 2 experienced veterans. So, I think it's a 2-man battle, but it's a real battle. And I think that's what we all talk about in the roundtable with our answers is, and there's 5 different questions. It's not all quarterbacks, but that's maybe been a little bit surprising, I think, to all of us, is just how close it is, and how I think probably all of us right now, if March 25th, would probably tell you that we think Jordan Travis is in the lead, but it's March 25th. They do not play game. They're not, Jackson State. They're not playing a game next week. They got 5.5 months until they play a game. So obviously that all goes with many grains of salt. But for right now, I think we all think Jordan Travis is in the lead. And another thing about Milton is that it's not just figuring out the offense; it's figuring out the dudes he's playing with. Like he doesn't have any chemistry at all, because how could he? He's been on campus for 3 months. He's done 6 actual practices with these guys, with a Keyshawn Helton or a Pokey, or certainly the young guys. That's something that has to be worked on. So he might not know, okay, Kentron comes out of his break like this, or he makes a cut like this, or just being on the same page as those guys. That takes something too. It's not just about, none of us think he's not going to learn the playbook. He's a smart guy that knows how you win in college football. He'll know the plays. It's, will he know the players he's playing with and have enough reps with them to know where they like the ball, where they go get the ball, if they can get it, if they look covered but they're not, or if they look like they're not covered but they are. Those kind of things that you only learn by playing with a guy. He still has some work to do there, quite obviously. They've had, we're halfway through, maybe not even 6 practices through. So
right.
He's still got some time to figure out the guys he's playing with as well.
Yeah. Go over to warchant.com, check it out. We have, a full discussion going on about spring football. So I know a lot of you folks are interested in that, so do go check it out. Let's get on the ponies, Corey. We got lots of questions, and we will have a show tomorrow. Whether or not it's live is up in the air. There's some technical difficulties over on my end of things. It is my fault. It's not my fault, but it's the equipment at my house, and I'm responsible for technology, so I guess I have to wear it. We'll try to figure it out so we can do the live show, but it'll probably be later on, maybe like 8:30 in the evening. So do stay tuned for that. This comes from XDQ. What's that?
It might just be YouTube questions only.
It could be. Yeah, it could be. Potentially just YouTube only questions. So we'll see how it goes. Carrying on, it's XDQ004. It's Renegade Express. Sorry, I heard something weird in my ear. I'm falling apart over here, Corey. But anyhow, XDQ004, he's got maybe one of the better avatars on the site. He's got his back to the camera, facing out to the ocean with the sun above him starting to set, and he's throwing up his Omega. Like Steve McNair used to do when he would score touchdowns at Alcorn State. Even in the pros, he would throw up his Omega. You basically put both of your hands out by your head with your palms facing out. Anyhow, he looks like Ronnie Coleman. He's got a large back. Probably does a lot of lat pull downs. Let me know your back, what you do on back day, XDQ. He says, my name is Derek Adams. I'm a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. My tag, XDQ004, comes from my nickname from college, X or X-Man. D for Derek, or the Omega, for Derek, and then the Omegas are nicknamed Qs, right? Q Dog. He's a Q Dog. He's an Omega man. And lastly, my line number, which was 4. I've got 2 questions this week. You know what it is? I'm back on this silly cable to connect everything, and I can't move. If I move, it rattles and makes a sound, and it makes me scared. This will be fun. I won't move for the next hour as I stand on my feet. What player from any of our championship teams would be worth 3+ wins if you had added him to this year's team? Or rather, if you added him to the 2021 team? XDQ, Derek, X-Man, says Peter Warrick, because he would help elevate the wide receiver room and provide explosiveness to our special teams. I'll take a quarterback, though.
Yeah, it's got to be somebody on offense. Yeah, man, I think Charlie or Jameis are both probably. Man, it's hard though. Like, are they worth? Would they make this a 10-win team? Like, Jameis was throwing to NFL guys and handing off to NFL guys, standing behind an NFL offensive line. Oh yeah, that had an entire defense that was going to get drafted as well. I don't know that if you pluck 2013 Jameis Winston onto this team, it is then a 10-win team. You know what I mean? I think quite obviously, but he's not throwing to Kelvin Benjamin or Nick O'Leary. So yeah, man, Peter Warrick's a good one, because not only would Peter Warrick's a guy you could put him in the backfield. You could throw 7 screens to him a game, and he might bust 2 of them for 50 yards. He also is one of those wide receivers, quite obviously, that garners a lot of attention. And maybe the other guys can win one-on-one battles. I'd still think you'd go with a quarterback. And I think for this team, just because you still wonder a little bit about the O-line, I would probably go with Charlie. Like the 1993 version of Charlie. I think he makes enough plays with his feet that he could probably turn this into a 9-win team. But, I think Peter Warrick's a good answer, and I think Jameis is a good answer too.
Yeah.
But it'd have to be offense, right? It couldn't be like even throwing Jernigan in there or Renard Wilson or whoever you want to throw in there, I don't know that they make that big of an impact at all. It's worth 3 wins is a lot to hang on one dude in a 22 person on the field at a time sport. So I would say it would have to be somebody on the offensive side of the ball.
Although I don't know, man. You put Boulware out there. I mean, how long are you going to have to throw the ball with Jermaine Johnson and Boulware coming at you?
Yeah, I think you'd still have long enough. You'd chip. You do some things. You do some things. Maybe get rid of the ball quick.
You're right. Yeah, it's just yeah. Defense is more than one player away, and you're on the defense. You're not on the offense. You're not dictating terms. So I would go with somebody on offense. I do like. The quarterback would be the first thing that comes to my mind. But yeah, I think you've explained it well, and good thought by X. Peter Warwick, because especially the way the offenses are run this in this day and age, and the wide receiver screen game, and heck, even on special teams, like X-Man said. So let's go to the second question. It says, you guys are opposing coaches in a winner-take-all game of all-time FSU basketball greats, only using the last 3 decades. So 90s, the 2000s, and the 2010s. You each get to pick a starting 5 and a 6th man. One caveat. You can only pick 2 players from each decade. Who are your picks? Who cuts down the nets? You want to go, Corey?
You want to do like back and forth?
Yeah, you got the first pick.
I'll go first. So with my first selection, I take Jonathan Isaac.
Ooh, okay. I will take Malik Beasley.
You writing these down?
I'm writing it down. Yeah. I'm writing it down. All right, you're going Isaac. I'll take Beasley.
Oh, okay, Beasley. All right, then I will take Sam Cassell.
Oh, dang it. I will take Devin Vassell.
Oh, buddy. All right. I'm going to take, I got to get another one out of the 90s. So I'm going to go ahead and take, oh, boy. I think I'm going to take Doug Edwards.
Okay.
I think I'm going to take Cassell and Edwards, and now I'm done with the 90s. I really like Cassell. He's a dead-eye shooter. Good obviously good ball handler. He's got if you've seen the memes in the GIFs on Twitter, he's got some big cojones. He'll make the big shot. That's a big-time player. And then obviously Doug Edwards is a do-it-all guy. Rebound, shoot, defend, that kind of thing.
I just realized, shouldn't I, Vassell, isn't that the 2020s? Can we include that decade? I
think that's the last. 2020 was the last year of that decade, so I feel like you can include him in the 10s.
Okay. All right. I need some length. I can't. Give me Alexander Johnson.
Okay. All right. So now I'm done with the 90s. I've still got one from the 2000. Okay, Al Thornton.
Oh, that's good. Dang it.
Man, my team is going to boat race your team.
Yeah. I guess I'll put Vassell at forward. Give me Bobby Sura at my other guard. I got Beasley and Sura at guard. I'll have Vassell.
Okay, you don't have a lot of passers on your team, but you got some shooters.
So
you got some wings.
That's all I'm all about.
Nobody to bring the ball up. Okay, so I'm done with. I got another one from the mid. I can do one from this decade too. Let's go with.
This is your last piece because you've got Cassell, Thornton, Isaac, and Edwards. So this is your last. Well, you got 2 pieces. We have a 6th man. Sorry.
Yeah, well, Patrick Williams is my 6th man.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot this whole caveat. We can only pick 2 players from each decade. I don't know. I give up on this exercise. You win, Corey. Is that fine?
All right, and I was going to throw Tony Douglas in there as well.
There you go. Look at that. Perfect. Well done. Drink DeLuna coffee, support Seminole boosters, give 5-star reviews, and go Noles. Thank you very much, XDQ. March is here. Madness has officially begun. It's time for you to shoot your shot and score big on the nonstop action with MyBookie. Sign up at mybookie.ag. Use the promo code WARCHANT to secure a deposit bonus up to $1,000. So they'll match you on your first deposit up to $1,000. Again, the promo code is WARCHANT. mybookie.ag to collect and claim your first deposit bonus. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with mybookie.ag. All right, next question, Corey. Old Dad's a Nole. Wake up! I would like to go back a week or so. You guys mentioned that Coach Hamilton would have gotten a $300,000 bonus had we beat Georgia Tech. My question is, what's to stop, not coach, of course, but what's to stop an acquaintance from putting $100,000 on Tech money line and then $50,000 on the spread. Seems too easy for anyone in that situation. What are we implying, though, old dad?
No, I think the point is that he's going to make money either way. Like,
He
if
just
they
hedged
lose,
himself, or somebody hedged him.
he just hedges. He hedges the bonus.
Ah.
Yeah, I don't quite think. I get what you're saying. Obviously, we don't think Leonard Hamilton would ever even think of something like that or do something like that. But I can see, college basketball is full of shady characters, and I bet there's been a few coaches over the years that have had like a lot of money riding on a particular game. That they're not betting for the other team to win; they're just trying to cover a little bit of their losses. Like, I don't know that you'd bet 300,000.
Yeah.
But you could bet, you could cover a little bit, take a little bit of the sting away if you won $140,000 on some bet,
Right. Did you see that thing with an NHL referee? He was caught on a hot mic talking about that he called a penalty that really wasn't that big of a deal, but he wanted to call a penalty on that team early on in the game, and then it went to commercial break. But he got fired. I mean, just done. I mean, obviously, you have to.
Yeah, that's smart.
But yeah, it's crazy what's going on and lurks underneath the surface.
Yeah, there's some shady characters in all walks of life.
Yeah. Second question, changing lanes. I'm glad you guys cut Tate Rodemaker a little bit of slack. Coach was absolutely correct when he said the staff put him in very bad situations. While I think we have too many quarterbacks on the roster, I also feel it's way too early to assess one based on last year. I remember watching a true freshman in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, go 6 for 25 with 40-ish yards and picks only 3 years later to send everyone home from Jacksonville scratching our heads. Love the show, old dad.
Yeah, that's Brett Favre, or Favre, as he used to be pronounced back then. Yeah, man, that's what I was trying to say is, like, you can't give up on Rodemaker yet. I just think nobody really expects him to compete for this year's job, but he might be the man in 2022 for sure.
Okay, all right. ABQ Nole, good day, guys. Good win for the basketball team Monday. As the defense seems to be locked in, I think the key to the Michigan game will be on the offensive side of the ball. If they shoot a reasonably good field goal 3-point percentage and limit turnovers, they have a good shot to win. My question, what are you two like while watching FSU games? Nervous, cool, calm, collected, somewhere in between? Personally, I'm kind of a nervous wreck watching any FSU game, but especially football and basketball. I'm standing up, pacing, talking to the TV or the air. My kids ask me who I'm talking to sometimes when a game is on. Fist pumping, etc. My wife rarely watches games with me anymore because it stresses her out too much watching me. What can I say? I'm a passionate fan. Take care, gentlemen, and keep up the good work. John Spear. Again, that's his real name.
Yeah, again, I've been doing this for so long. I've been a sports writer. You're supposed to be impartial, objective, that you're not supposed to really care about the outcomes. But when it directly affects you, I care. Like, I would have gotten to co-cover a Final Four a few years ago if they could have beaten Michigan the last time. So you're darn tootin'. I was rooting for Florida State to win that game. And then because I'd never gotten to cover one. I've been to some as a media member, but it was nonsense. I wasn't really covering a team. This would be like actually working and covering it. And then, that really, honestly, I'm telling you, that game on Saturday, like driving all the way to Indianapolis to watch one game and watch them lose to UNC Greensboro would have been devastating to just turn around and go back home. Yeah. So I was openly rooting for them. Then after that, it's like, my blood pressure, my heart rate is fine. The win or lose, I want to, I'm always rooting for Leonard and his staff, but that game, but I'm not like that invested where I'm crushed if they lose, or doing cartwheels if they win. I'm happy for them for sure. But I think that game on Saturday, me and Stephanie were like doing chest bumps. We were high-fiving. We were all kinds of excited when they pulled away there in the second half finally.
Yeah. Man, I've lost that loving feeling, unfortunately.
But wait till you see, man. Like, you don't know yet because they haven't been good at football since we've been here.
That's a very good point, man. That's a very good point.
Wait until they get good again at football and then see if those juices start flowing again when they're playing in the ACC championship game for a chance to go to the playoff.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I like it. Because I was going to say, I've got to go back. Like, I'll always remember 2012 against NC State. I'm pretty sure I was in Starkville or Oxford to cover like an 11 a.m. SEC game that they were playing in, and I was able to get back to Jackson, Mississippi in time to watch a Florida State game, and it was like the second half of the game is what I tuned into, and I just remember watching that game just slowly melt away. I'll always remember the last drive when, I don't know, they converted whatever, like 4 fourth downs and 3rd and longs or whatever. It was hands on knees, crouched over, just like Mickey Andrews in like 1996, just watching this and just feeling like utter despair and like just hurt every single time. And then I remember when they got onto the goal line and they had that bunch formation. I'm like, and I hated it. I'm like, I don't know how you defend bunch formation. The goal line, this is 2012. This was like crazy exotic looks. And I'm like, they're going to score right here. And they did. And, I felt utterly deflated. The last time I probably had real true anxiety watching a Florida State game was probably the Arkansas baseball game in Omaha 2 years ago. And I remember like rooting like hell the entire time in my house. I'm like, come on, win this damn game, start 1-0. Because, obviously if you start 0-1 in Omaha, like, well, I don't know what it's like. Maybe one team has gone through the losers bracket.
That's right. Yeah.
So just holding on to that game, J.C. Flowers making that catch, I was going like, let's go! Crazy by myself.
Plus, you were on the road the next day, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think the flight was set up for the next day.
Yeah,
so you get out
there you go. So it all worked out. You got to hang out with Brady.
Yeah.
Got to take that memorable drive back from Omaha. It was good times.
It was awesome. Yeah. So, but yeah, I used to be absolutely horrible. I've said it before. The 2003 Miami game where we're both in the top 10 for the first time in however many years, like 10 years. Game day, high noon kickoff, freezing rain. Well, not freezing rain, it was like 50, 60-ish degrees and rain. Everybody came up for that game, stayed with me. Big party, pregame at the house, Indian Village. And then I remember just like everybody left, third quarter because the game was practically over. I stayed for the entire thing, and I walked back into the apartment, and everyone just kind of got quiet. And they're like looking at me to see like what, can they have fun? Because people know that like you're not allowed to have fun around me if Florida State loses. Like, what are you doing?
Oh, right.
I was that guy, and I'm like, don't even. I'm like, it's fine. I don't care. Just walked upstairs and just went straight to bed. Didn't party that night. Just was miserable for like at least 72 hours. And then I got really.
Glad you've grown up. You've grown up from that at least.
Hopefully. Oh yeah. But that's the thing though. Like that's what people love. Like people want that from me, and it's the fact that like I don't feel that anymore. That they're like, get somebody else to do this with Corey. Somebody that loves Florida State. Like, sorry.
Oh, yeah, you love Florida State too much. I would say this, too, though. Like, I just said that I don't get really invested. If they win on Sunday and they're playing Tuesday night for a chance in the Final Four again, even though it's not going to be in a new city, it's going to be in that same city. They'll be there for a month with no real fans. That would be such an accomplishment for Leonard and that staff in the program that I would probably be pretty darn nervous for them for that game.
Absolutely. Matt AMCC, it's Mark in Naples. Wake up! Apologizing here for the absence recently. Was in Utah skiing with my kids for spring break. Not an excuse and not conduct becoming of a pillar. I'll bring it this week and can't wait for the next live show. So Park City, is that in Utah? Park City?
Yeah, that's Park City's in Utah. Okay. I think Sundance maybe is in. Yeah. That's where Sundance is. Maybe
correct.
Is in Park City. I can't remember. But you don't have to apologize.
Never.
You're doing fun stuff with your kids.
Yeah, man. Do the dad thing. That's awesome. I wish I had a family. Take them out skiing.
Obviously, just double up the tip next time since you missed a week. That's a joke. Clearly, that's a joke.
It is. Give it to Seminole Boosters. Not really concerned about anything after the scrimmage. I'm enthusiastic about the reports of Jordan Travis elevating his game and looking more comfortable. There's a lot of speculation about who's going to start. Personally, I think we'll need both McKenzie and Jordan this season. Best case, they both stay healthy and they can use a scheme like the Saints do with Drew Brees and Taysom Hill. Think about the possibilities with that duo on the field at the same time. It could be driving defenses crazy. Do you agree, or do you think Norvell will rely on one quarterback? Maybe it will be a fluid decision as the season progresses.
No, I think I definitely think he's going to rely on both at some point. Number one, you can't assume they're going to be healthy the whole season. And I just think if Milton is the starter, and I wrote this in the roundtable, said this in the roundtable, that if Milton is the starter, Jordan Travis is too dynamic to just stand on the sideline for 80 snaps and not have some impact on a football game. He just is. So they will figure out a way to use him. Now, if Jordan Travis is the starter, I don't know what necessarily you would bring McKenzie Milton in for. Now it's a McKenzie Milton play. Like, what is that? 3rd and 8? Like, I don't know what a McKenzie Milton play would look like. if he's not the starting quarterback. But the other way around, I definitely think Norvell would plan on playing both of them, at least for a different look. It's something other teams have to prepare for. This is just not a normal dude running at quarterback. So if teams have to prepare for it, if Notre Dame would prepare for it anyway. But after Notre Dame, the next big game you have, maybe Wake. I think I can't remember who that third game is. But if it's Wake, if you have Jordan Travis take 12 snaps at quarterback during the course of the Notre Dame game, that's more work that Wake has to do preparing for that, because he will be a part of the game plan.
Look at you at Wake Forest. Nailed it.
Yeah, I did it, man. I did it. I'm coming around. Getting into football mode a little bit. But yeah, don't you think they'll play? I don't know. I just think if Mackenzie Milton is the quarterback, there will be some short yardage, some red zone type stuff, or maybe just a change of pace type stuff where they will have a plan going into the game that Jordan Travis needs to play. He will have a package.
Yeah, I go with that. I agree with that. I mean, I don't think that's not like their default setting. I don't really think they've done a lot of that in their past.
No.
But to your point, they haven't had a guy like him on their roster, and why not use him? I just always hate the kind of, all right, you just nail the big throw for like 40 yards. It's now 1st and goal at the 6-yard line. You guys are running up to the line of scrimmage. Mackenzie's looking at the sideline to see what the play call is. And like he's, they're lined up, offensive line's crouched down. They're looking over the play. And I was like, let me get off the field. And he runs off. They've got all that momentum. Jordan Travis runs on to run the play that they've done, 10 times that week in practice, and they love it. And then it's like incomplete. And then like all the momentum stops, and you bring Mackenzie back out. He does read option. He should have kept it, but he hands the ball off, runs into the pile. It's now 3rd and long. That's what scares me about that stuff. But that's like the worst case. To Mark's point, like you see the way the Saints use Taysom Hill, and they didn't run into that a lot. It was a lot of success. So let's hope for that. By the way, Mark says, a poster or a caller referenced the book Case Closed by Gerald Posner on the JFK assassination. I haven't told you guys this, but I'm a published author on the subject. That book is a total fraud. If you want some references for legitimate books and articles on the subject, let me know. And beat Michigan. Corey, thank you for all the long drives back and forth to Indianapolis.
Hey, I'm doing it for guys like you. You know what I mean? But I appreciate it. The driving's not fun, but everything else is awesome, and I'm very, very lucky to have my job. And remember, it's not Gene or Warchant being cheap. They want me to fly. They need me to fly. I'm just not flying. I drive. So don't think that I have to do like they're making me drive up there. I'm doing that by choice.
Look at that, man. He's a published author on JFK's assassination. Let us know. Mark, drop us
We got all kinds of listeners, man. We got all kinds of listeners.
All right. Big Steve-O 22. What's up, fellas? Hope all is well with you all.
Did you ever see JFK, the movie, the Oliver Stone movie?
With Kevin Costner as the DA or whatever.
Yeah,
Costner?
well, he tried to have the Louisiana accent, and it would come in and out, much like all of his accents.
No, I never saw it. It's Oliver Stone one, right?
Yeah, and it's got some outlandish stuff in it. But I remember I watched it in the theater with my buddy. I think we were in high school, and we went and watched it. And I remember after walking out of the theater, my buddy going, "Man, I think we're not supposed to know this stuff. Like now I feel like they're out to get us. Like they make it so like government heavy. If you knew anything, you're going to have an accident. You're going to be pushed off a train or have a car accident and be killed or a weird mysterious death. Yeah. That whole movie is such not a fantasy, but just it's a real spooky type movie. But it's Oliver Stone, and I would assume 40% of it is real. But, it's still interesting. It was still a good movie, even if you don't believe all the conspiracy stuff.
Is Oliver Stone Q? I'm just kidding.
Right, yeah.
Big Steve-O 22. What's up, fellas? Hope all is well with you all. Man, what a win against Colorado. I admit I was nervous going into that game after our first one and all the other upsets. I had originally typed a post, but I thought it was long, so I'm going to sum it up. 1. I think we have a good chance against Michigan. Continue to play our game and we'll be okay. I agree with that. Scotty Barnes needs to cool it with the one-handed pass. You agree with that, Corey?
No, I think Scotty Barnes is doing very well in the passing. He had a terrible one. He needs to cool it on the baseball pass that gets intercepted.
That's
But
what
I
he's
thought
saying,
in the second half, especially against Colorado, again he's not moving, he's not himself, but he made some really pinpoint perfect passes against that zone.
Yeah.
That was kind of the run that gave them the game, was when Barnes was at the top of that zone finding dudes. I thought he did that really well. He needs to be a little more aggressive with his shot, but I just don't think he has the burst right now he feels to get to the rim in a half court setting.
3, I think we could beat Alabama or UCLA. UCLA scares me more than Alabama, as I believe Alabama takes a lot of gambles and their athletes can cover up mistakes. I disagree. That's what scares me about Alabama. I think they're so athletic that they could kind of hang with Florida State.
Yeah, I think the thing with Alabama is you play the 3-point lottery with them. They're going to take 30 of them, 35 maybe. If they hit 17, you're going to lose. If they go 9 for 30, you're going to probably win. They take a ton of threes. They don't guard all that well. They don't seem to be a great defensive team, but they have some real players on offense, and they have all 5 can shoot. So they challenge you there. And if they're having one of their days, you're not going to beat them. In fact, they could beat you badly. But if they're not hitting threes, if you're contesting everything, you have a good chance of beating those guys. Again, that's probably a bridge we need to wait to cross. Talking about the Elite Eight matchup.
But you got a 1 seed in front of you, you know?
Yeah, I still think Alabama – I agree with you. I think Alabama's probably a little worse matchup because of they are really good at are driving and kicking out for threes, and they have all 5 guys that can shoot it. So that's – if you've been watching Florida State basketball long enough, that is one way to crack this defense, is to have 4 or 5 guys on the court that can all shoot. That puts a lot of pressure on them.
4, could we beat Gonzaga? We could if we turn the ball over less than 5 times, which I don't think is possible. 5, either way, I'm proud of this team. Yeah, man. I don't know, Gonzaga, yeah, they look really good. Although I want to see that matchup, though. Like, I want to see that matchup. I want to see 3 wooden watch guys, NBA lottery dudes going up against Florida State and the way they play. Like, I think that'll be quite entertaining. Although we'll see, man. Let's see if they can get past Oregon. If Oregon beats Southern Cal, I know they've already trounced Oregon, but I don't think Oregon had all their firepower healthy. I'm curious to see how that game goes if that fleshes out.
Oregon's good, man. Oregon's good. I'm going to actually try to go to that Oregon USC game if I can while I'm up there. But yeah, Oregon's legit. And man, that's the thing. Florida State isn't good enough. They don't have the NBA players that obviously the Gonzaga has from an offensive standpoint, where you can turn it over 17 times and win. You just can't. It's hard enough to hit shots anyway. You can't just give the other team 17 free possessions off on defense. And what was so frustrating about a lot of those turnovers on Monday to start the game was that they were just completely unforced. Yeah. Like, if a team rips it from you, it's like, okay, well, at least they made a play. But so many of them are, Scotty Barnes throwing a bounce pass to a posting up Osborne that goes right through his legs because he threw it too hard. And just things like that. If you can get away from that and the charges that they were being called left and right in that game on both teams, if you can hold, they're not going to hold it to 5 turnovers. Nobody's going to play a game with that many possessions and only turn it over 5 times. But if you only turn it over on like 15 or 12% of your possessions instead of 20, you got a chance. Just give yourself a chance by getting shots at the rim. And that goes for this game in particular too. All of them really. You can't turn it over a bunch against a really good team like Michigan and expect to win the game. If you can limit those, if you can cut those in half, which isn't asking a lot, if you can just cut those in half and get rid of the sloppy turnovers, just the inexplicable ones, then yeah, man, I think you got a chance against anybody left in the tournament.
Real quick, Corey, I want the first word that comes into your mind, word association. First thing when I say the following words: garnet,
gold,
peanut butter,
jelly,
zig,
zag.
Why do you say Gonzaga or Zaga? You keep saying Gonzaga, zag.
No, I call him Gonzaga. That's what I do.
Zag.
Zag,
Corey.
No. That's dumb. I know they're called the Zags. I call them the Zogs.
Football related. So far, 3 of 4 of the things I was hoping to see during spring have been happening. Fresh wide receivers are shining. Aggressive, I'm sure that means freshmen. Freshman wide receivers are shining. Aggressive play from defensive line and linebackers, and the urgency to turn this thing around. The last thing I want to see happen is the intense battles in the trenches. I think it's still early, but it does sound like the offensive line is holding up nicely. As an FSU sports fan, I think the past week and a half has been amazing, from the hard top to the diamond to the sand pit, etc. Go Noles. Side note, my son is doing well. We were hoping and praying to get out of 2021 without any procedures. He will require one in the future, but hoping to go at least a year without having him to go under. Thank you guys for always checking in. Well, thank you for posting questions and keeping us posted about that, Big Steve-O. We want to know, man.
And that's very good news.
Yep.
Very good news. It almost seems dumb to go back to a football comment after something like that.
That's what he wanted to talk about, though. Yeah, go for it.
I don't know that I would agree with I know they had some nice moments in the scrimmage. I don't know that I necessarily would agree about the freshman wideouts
Right.
shining, but it does sound like they're improving because, again, I can't stress it enough. They were overwhelmed the first practice I saw and much of the second practice I saw. It was not a fair fight with them. Even on one-on-ones against the DBs, they were getting locked up. And one-on-ones, that should always be a wide receiver-dominated drill. So now it sounds like they are stepping up their game, which is what you'd expect. They're playing better players they've ever gone up against consistently. And you have to raise your level of play or you're not going to make any plays. So it does sound like they're starting to answer the challenge a little bit, which is very encouraging.
And I will say this real quick. I think, ultimately you want all these guys to develop, but I think you just really need one. I mean, one of these guys, Malik McLean or Burrell or Kentron or Brian Robinson, just one of you guys. Because I think Pokey's going to be okay. I think Keyshawn Helton's going to be all right. Ja'Kai Douglas, I think, will be a good slot guy to give Keyshawn a blow here and there. And then Andrew Parchment hopefully keeps his skill on schedule to arrive in the summer. And then, you got somewhat of a rotation. I've never been a big 8-man wide receiver rotation guy. Give me 4 or 5 guys that you can ride with, and I'm totally cool with it. Again, I think, with Keyshawn, Pokey, Parchment, I think Ja'Kai again behind Helton. And then if one of these freshmen, if Malik McLean can just kind of get 2 good routes that he feels good with and they feel comfortable with, I think you'll be okay. So that's what I'm hoping for. Tennis.
Other schools have freshman wideouts, play big minutes, and produce a lot all the time. You know what I mean? Like, it's not out of the realm. Like, it's 2021.
But those are elite
schools around
guys,
the country have freshmen become starters and make a lot of plays all the time. I can't remember what ACC team it was, but there was an ACC team that Florida State played this year where their leading receiver was a freshman and was good. And so Malik, there's nothing that says Malik McLean can't even be the guy this year. He just, has to get bigger and better. But it can happen.
No, I think he's big enough. He's got to,
No, I mean like stronger. I didn't mean like, I mean he looks the part, but he can still, obviously get more physical. He still should be in high school.
Right.
But he'll be here. He gets a spring that most people don't get. Most freshmen don't get. Maybe he's the guy, man.
Tennis Ump, loved my DeLuna coffee this morning. I would love to hear more about this different football that Tate Rodemaker mentioned in his interview on Tuesday. He stated that it was more like his high school football and thus easier for him to throw. If you have time, could you research this a little more, please? Thanks for all you do, and this change just has me curious, as in, does everyone find it easier to throw or just Tate? I am assuming that this new ball is, quote, legal to use in NCAA games, and this is not just for practice. All right, yeah, let's see what we can figure out. Ask some follow-up questions. Primetime 92. Hey, gang. Got more of a serious question for you guys. Oh, wow. What has been the most difficult aspect of your life so far? Marriage, being a parent, finding a career, getting older, etc. Just curious, asking these types of questions to people older than myself.
Oh, man, a little life advice.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go first because I can hit on 2 of those that you can't. Quite clearly, as a divorced single dad, marriage wasn't the easiest walk in the park for me. It wasn't a piece of cake. But I don't think that it's 50% of the population now. I think, honestly, being a parent, you always have these ideas of what kind of parent you're going to be, what kind of dad you're going to be. But until you get in the moment, you really don't know. Because again, I love my son to death, but if you were, I'm a pretty fun-loving dude. Like if you meet me at a bar or a restaurant or walking around downtown Indianapolis or scooting on one of my scooters, you'll be like, man, it's a nice guy. My son wouldn't say I'm a nice guy. And I would have thought I was going to be over the top, just a fun-loving dad. And maybe if I had a different type of kid, I would be. But he's wonderful. I love him. He's got a great personality, but he's so exasperating. I'll give you an example, just so you guys know the frustration, and it's a quick story. But he was taking some practice swings with the baseball bat, and then he leaned over on his bat, like his chest on his bat, leaning over, like almost doubling over on his bat, almost like he was in pain. And I said, hey, man, why are you doing that? And he goes, I'm not. How do you respond to that, Aslan? How do you respond to a kid that says, I'm not? When he's, what is that even? Yeah, you are, dude. I'm looking. What is that? And he's like, I meant to say, I don't know. And I know you. I go, I know you did. But your default is to always contradict and say you're not doing something when you clearly are. And that's like a pathology that you can't get around. So he's quite frustrating, but I love him to death. But yeah, I lose my temper with him too much. And that's the one thing that I would, if I could go back, like I'm too far down the tracks now. It's just who I am as a dad. I lose my temper with him. I love him. I say a lot of sweet things to him too, but when he drives me crazy, I let him know. And I wish maybe I was a little more, I don't know, just go with the flow type dad. But it's just not really in my nature. And I thought it would be. And part of it is because I tell him all the time, like, man, I'm trying to get you ready for life. Like, you're going to have to make a lot of decisions on your own in a few years. And I can't have you not knowing to tie your shoes or to this or that. Like, you've got to start having more maturity and responsibility. So, and I think that's always going to be the case, right? Maybe when he's like 19 or 20, we'll be more friends. I guess that's it. And that was way too long. I thought I'd be more friends with my son than dad, son. I thought it'd be more of a friendly relationship, but it certainly has materialized into me being the actual dad and like putting him in his place, keep him in his place, and not just sharing a bunch of laughs all the time.
I think you walk a good balance with him, man. Don't be too hard on yourself. Man, you got to be a parent first, and then the friend thing I think develops over time.
But they do so many stupid things, and he's almost 13 and he's gifted, but they do so many inexplicable. And I'm sure I was the same way, but as someone in my 40s now, I have a hard time relating to the irrationality of it all. And like, how could you do that? Why would you just run out into the street like just anything? And so I need to. That's something that I would say get prepared for. That I thought once you got through the first year or two of them not choking on a container or eating bleach, and you got through that stage, that you'd be okay. But you're always worried about him, and you're always teaching lessons, or trying to. And I wonder if that'll go on until he's 30 or 50. Who knows?
Everything's been a walk in the park for me, so I don't really have any. That's been difficult. So sorry, I can't help you out prime time.
That was great.
Yeah,
he was looking for real advice, man.
No, that's the thing. I mean, I was just going to get into a bee and moan session. I don't think I have like solutions, but I will just say I think so many times that we always tell guys younger than us, "Hey man, you're only like 23, you're fine, bro. Don't worry." Like, don't worry about it, man. You're young. It's gonna all work out. Which there's some truth in that, but like plans are really good. Have plans for things. Be very introspective early on. Like don't think as you're like 23 that and look around and you see that these are what guys are doing that are like your age, and that's the normal or whatever, man. Like follow your instinct. You probably have a good idea of what you want to be, where you want to go. Put a plan in motion to achieve those things, because before you know it, you find yourself living in Mississippi, making like $40,000 a year, and you're like, am I ever gonna be able to afford anything I want to do in my life? Am I gonna be able to raise a family? And it gets pretty anxious, and then you're by yourself. It kind of sucks. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, I would say don't be afraid to take a chance in your 20s. Like if you don't have anybody depending on you, and you're miserable at whatever career path you've chosen, or you're miserable at your job. And I had, I was still I was miserable at a couple places I was at. Well, one in particular. And I'm like, I just don't want to do this anymore. And I could afford that. I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. I could afford to take a chance and bet on myself to go get a better job that could also make me happier. And so, yeah, I would say do that. And then the relationship advice I'd give, not that I can give great relationship advice, it would be you're not going to find anybody perfect. There's nobody perfect out there. There's nobody perfect for you out there. That just doesn't exist.
And there's not just one person
Find somebody
out there,
that's
right? I think that's
No.
something that we don't
there's
talk about. It's not just one person out there. There's probably several.
Yeah.
Just find one sooner than
Especially
later.
when you're guys like us.
Right.
When you're guys like us that have it coming from all sides. We have so many options.
Well,
That, there's going to be a lot of great options for a guy like you and me. I'm saying it. I was joking. Because Stephanie sometimes listens to this, and Shanna always listens to this. But yeah, no, there's probably plenty of people that you could make a life with and be happy with.
Yeah.
If you let yourself open to it. But if you're going to be like, oh, there's this that's wrong with her, or that she makes me happy almost all the time, but or whoever, they make me happy all this whole time for most of the time. But there's this one thing I really don't like Chandler on Friends when people would say supposedly.
Right.
Instead of supposedly.
Yeah.
And that was just something he couldn't get past. Like, don't be that. Just if somebody makes you mostly happy, or 95% of the time you're happy, then that's you've won. You've won at life.
Yeah. Well said. Also save money, man. If you can avoid debt as much as you can. Save money. It's helped me out. My parents put that in me early. And I have a cousin who's a financial advisor, and he was telling me that, hey, he's like, you know how much money you'd have if you saved $3,000 a year and put it into an investment fund that gave you 7%, and you did that for 40 years. I'm like, I don't know. And by the way, 40 years, that's a long time. So start now when you're in your 20s. That way you can retire before you turn 80, if you're me. And
Here's another piece of advice.
Well, I'm not done, Corey. Come
on.
Oh,
sorry, buddy. Sorry, I thought you were going on to the next question.
No, he was saying that it would be $1 million. But then my friend, Manhattan Mike, who's in high finance, is like, no, it's actually $600,000, which still is a really good retirement. Very, very good retirement. So, save early. I had one other thing, but I can't think about it, but I'll let you know if it comes back to my head. Go ahead, Corey.
One other thing. If you're ever hosting or a part of a podcast and you're recording it and somebody asks you and you're giving relationship advice and your girlfriend that you love a lot is upstairs and can hear every word, maybe don't say they make you mostly happy, because I just got a text that said, I make you mostly happy. Great. So just know that, maybe don't talk so loudly.
They're always
speaking
listening
about your relationship.
That's the thing. They're always pretend that somebody's always listening. That's always helps too.
Exactly right.
Random_John. Good morning, Aslan and Corey. I hope you were both jazzed up after each having sipped an entire pot of DeLuna coffee. I'm jazzed. Again, that 1559. I'm just every weekend. It's been divine. Grind it. Get my whole bean in there. Get my grinder on. Get my pour over on. It's all about getting the right. What I've discovered, Corey, is it's all about the temperature. You don't want to pour the water over your grounds when it's really scalding hot. You want to take it off the boil, let it sit for probably about close to a minute, then slowly start pouring it, let it bloom, and then put the rest of the water on, and then you get just an absolutely divine cup of coffee. So thanks, Random_John. Hope you're enjoying and jazzed up after your entire pot of DeLuna coffee. Now that FSU has made it to the Sweet 16, what would make a loss in this round more painful to you than Leonard's Achilles is to him? Maybe he's not really injured, and it's more of an MJ-type injury. What would make a loss more painful? If they lost the way that Texas A&M lost to Northern Iowa 4 years ago, maybe.
Just the half-court shot.
Well, no, I think they were up 12 points or so with a minute left.
That was the next game. So
was it? Okay.
Northern Iowa beat Texas on a 60-footer. Right at half court. And then the next game they had a 12-point lead on, I think it was Texas A&M. And it with literally a minute left and blew the game.
Okay, so who won? So Texas A&M won?
Yeah, Texas A&M beat Northern Iowa after being down by 12 with a minute left.
Yeah, losing in that fashion, or the way that whoever Rutgers lost to, Rutgers to Houston. Rutgers it was a 14-2 run to end the game for Houston. That would almost kill me more than a buzzer beater. Like a buzzer beater is like, oh, it's like a gut punch, but that's like death by 1,000 cuts. I'd rather get punched in the gut than slow, miserable death.
Yeah, I think that's the if you would honestly, I just think if like you lost to Michigan, like Houston lost to Michigan back when Michigan went to the Final Four in that second round game where they hit the 28-footer to win it, that kind of thing where it's guarded well. Maybe you put somebody on the inbounder, but you guarded it well. The kid just had to hit a miraculous shot. That would be a painful loss. Whatever. Getting up 20 with 8 minutes to go and losing that, I don't think they would do that. But yes, that would make it most painful. Just anyway, where you watch the game and you're like, man, Florida State was the better team. They deserved to win that game. They just got unlucky. Whatever that means. Michigan banks in 2 threes. They call a BS foul on Balsar. They call a BS foul on Raekwon to foul him out of the game. Something like that, and you end up losing in the final seconds when you played better and you deserved it. I think that would, however that manifests itself, would be a painful ending.
Question 2: what about a win in this round would make you say, Sam Hill, we actually did it? If they beat them the way they beat Colorado, I guess?
Or like if they rain threes, if MJ scores 20, and hits 4 or 5 threes, something like that, I think that would be, I think you'd be, not only would you say, wow, they did it, you'd be like, okay, wow, they if they play like that again, they're in the Final Four, something like that.
All right, here we go. We got 2 more.
All right, let's do it.
Dave in Bardstown, Kentucky, also known as Bourbon is Your Friend. Dear Warchant team, please give the fans what they want. A video of Corey being called into Gene's office so that he could be questioned about his negativity. The transcript, I imagine, would go something like this. Gene, we're a fan site. What's with all the negativity about how we ended the regular season? Sure, we gave up 83 points to Notre Dame, and they had 5 players in double figures. And sure, we had 25 turnovers, 23 fouls, and got out-rebounded on the offensive glass versus Georgia Tech in the ACC championship game. The real fans know it's the ref's fault. Corey, I don't know what got into me. It's probably having to work with Aslan every day. Maybe it was a reaction to my second COVID vaccine injection. Make sure for the video that Corey's seated in a chair for kids. The video would be that much better if you could only see the top of Corey's head as he has to explain himself. We'll see if we can get that when Corey comes back to town.
That's not a bad idea. I just don't want to share a room with Gene. Not until we're both fully vaccinated, quite obviously. I'll try to be less negative. I know I've been hammering Leonard ever really since this show started back 3 years ago, nonstop about the direction of this program. So I can understand why people would think I'm negative.
A lot of people came to your defense, by the way. Flavanol. There's several people that were like,
look, it's people have they hear what they want to hear, and I'm not dismissing what's in their mind. And yeah, man, I was probably a little over the top negative about that game against Georgia Tech because it was just such an opportunity that I thought they just let both of those games, the Notre Dame game too, just let a really cool opportunity slip away. But I always kept saying they could make up for it with what they did in this tournament. And so far, look, the banner's going to say Sweet 16 on it. The NCAA tournament, so they've already added something to the banner. They can add something else too with a couple more, one more win and then 2 more wins. Leonard still made some money. But I was going to say, like, you see this on Twitter occasionally with these national ESPN guys when they get the tweets from both fan bases saying like, it's great to see Carl Ravitch on his Alabama kick again. I guess the Crimson Tide can do no wrong. Yeah. And then from an LSU fan, and then he'll retweet an Alabama fan saying, why does Carl Ravitch hate Alabama so much? This is ridiculous. Yeah. It's just part of fandom. Like there are some people that are wired when something negative is said about their program, they take it as a personal slight and that person hates their program. Where quite clearly, you guys know I do not hate Florida State basketball.
Okay, questions. One from his son T-Bone and then another from his daughter Lilo. Let's go to T-Bone first. That's the order that it was presented. I am starting an 8 to 10 player pitch baseball. Any tips from Corey or Brady?
Oh, all right. Okay. How old is T-Bone? Do we remember?
I thought T-Bone was like 6, but I don't know.
I don't think. No, they wouldn't be pitching kids at 6. Maybe a little older. My advice would be very aggressive, especially if kids are pitching. because, well, either way, but if kids are pitching, you're not going to get a lot of really good pitches to hit. So the first good one that you can hit, swing as hard as you can and smoke the thing to the outfield. That's all you're trying to do. Hit it to the outfield and keep running. So that would be my advice. And to understand that you're going to swing and miss and you're going to make outs, it's part of the beauty of baseball. There's a lot of failure in baseball, but there's also a lot of fun when you hit it to the fence. So hit it to the fence.
All right, question from my 5-year-old Lilo. She is named after my wife's grandmother, not Lilo and Stitch, by the way. Who would win in a football game if FSU played Kentucky?
Well, if this question had been asked to us, I would say any other time in the history of the two programs, well, since we've been alive, the answer would be clearly Florida State. Yeah. But we are now at a point where you might take Kentucky to beat Florida State in football. And we're also at a point where you would take Florida State to beat Kentucky in basketball.
Hey-o.
So it's a weird point. It's a weird time we're living in, Lila. But
Lilo.
I would say
Lilo.
Sorry. Yeah, that's right. I would say I still think I would take Florida State. Right? I don't know enough about Kentucky. I think you just got the advantage of quarterback. That's what I'm going to say. But Kentucky never has a quarterback that can play. Ever since the one kid from was it Woodson?
Yeah. Andre Woodson.
From like whenever that was, 12 years ago, 13 years ago, whenever that was. Since then, they haven't had a quarterback they haven't had a quarterback that has been really good, and they always seem to struggle passing the ball at all. So I'll take Florida State. They have an advantage of quarterback.
Okay, I think Kentucky really didn't have a case. They struggled last year too. We're not talking like 9-win, got Mark Stoops a raise Kentucky. We're talking. I think they went like 2 and whatever last year. I think they might have had worse record than Florida State.
I think they had some guys opt out though that were good players, or they had some injuries. They had something going on, but yeah, they were bad last year.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Last one. It's Kirknole. What's up, Kirknole, Texas? Shane, wake up, Seminole Nation. 2 things. As I sip on this amazing DeLuna coffee, Norvell's response to Aslan asking about the punters was awesome to me. He did not make excuses, try to hide or anything. He just said it was not the plan to punt short, and you can tell by his face he was not happy about the results on punting day. Great question, Aslan. Glad you asked him about that. After hearing about how the first scrimmage went, thank you, by the way, Shane, knowing that Chubba Purdy is not going to get more snaps this spring, what are the 2 things you think you have to see in the April 10th practice inside Doak? Notice how he said April 10th practice, not Garnet and Gold game.
Right.
Because it's the football scrimmage is what they're calling it, I think. What 2 things do you have to see that will have you thinking this team is truly better than last year, or things are heading in the right direction with this team now compared to last year? As always, amazing job by both of you and the Warchant family. Keep up the great work. Well, thank you for the kind words, Shane. Thank you, man. 2 things, Corey. What do you got to see, man? What do you guys see April 10th, Doak Campbell?
Man, that's a hard one. To narrow it down to 2, I want to see some turnovers, which is weird to say, but I got to see some guys being dislodged from the ball violently. I know it, but when I'm saying that, you're talking about a Florida State receiver or running back that's being dislodged from the ball, so that's not a great sign either. I just want to see a fast, physical defense. I don't know if that counts as 2. I'll say that's 1. And then I want to see the receivers make some plays. I know it's hard because you're talking like if you asked me what I wanted to see if they were scrimmage against FIU, I would have bang, 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 bang. This is what you want to see. But you're talking about doing it against your own players. So if you have 4 turnovers, that's great for the defense and terrible for the offense. You don't want to see that. I want to see good, but I just think the weakness on this team right now, in my opinion, is the defensive line and the wide receivers. They can prove us wrong for sure. But I want to see the wide receivers have a big day, make some plays, get some confidence from those guys, see them actually compete and produce in that environment. And because none of them have, except for 2 guys on the entire team, none of them have even felt what it's like to hear people cheer, really, when they make a play. So you want to see that. And then you want to see some pressure that maybe forces some turnovers from the defensive line. Hopefully with not even having to use a lot of blitzing. But then, Aslan, I ask you, You see great pressure from that front four. Well, isn't that bad news for Florida State? Because that means the offensive line can't block them.
Yeah, I think you don't have Devontae Love-Taylor out there. You don't have Thomas Schrader, who's a guy they're probably going to want to rely on the interior. Bavion hasn't practiced. So you would think that when those guys return, or at least Love-Taylor and Schrader, that they're going to be a little bit bolstered. And if they do get that help from their offensive line, I would say that. Like, I want to see Jermaine Johnson be as advertised, although I don't have a lot of doubt about that. It would be nice to see. Again, I mean, he had a lot of high praise for him when we spoke to him on Tuesday about Derek McClendon, Dennis Briggs. I want to see, like, I don't want to have to wait until the day after to look at tape and like, oh, actually, I did pretty good. Like, I want to see that stuff in motion. Like, I want to see 55 rush off the edge and make a big play. I want to see stuff that is obvious to all of us that the front four can get to the quarterback. And then for me, the other thing would be just I want to see one of the quarterbacks win that day. I don't want to see both. I don't want like one guy to go 7 of 12, the other to go 6 of 11. Man, I want to see one of those quarterbacks go like 12 of 14 and the other one maybe like 3 of 9. Like I want to see a significant difference. I want to see some separation start to build. Maybe not that significant, but I want to see separation start to build between the quarterbacks. Because I just think the quicker that gets solved, man, the better everything is. And I know it's going to go deep into July and in August before it's figured out. But it would be nice if you walked out of Doak Campbell being like, damn, hey, man, Jordan Travis is legit. I think that he's figured it out. Or, all right, man, this Milton kid, this is why he won 23 games in a row, man. He looks like he's ready to roll. So I just want to see some separation start to happen between the quarterbacks where you kind of feel, all right, one of these guys is moving a little better or is a little better position than the other. Those are my two.
Yeah, I would think, though, most fans listening to that and most fans in that stadium, and no disrespect to Jordan Travis, who might end up being awesome, they would, if one of them is going to do it, they want it to be Milton. They want Milton. They want to see Milton that we saw at UCF. If we see some glimpses of that, that'll make Florida State fans very excited moving forward. Yeah. So I think if one of them is going to separate themselves, Florida State fans, I think, would rather it be that guy. Now, again, not anything disrespectful towards Jordan Travis. It's just that's the guy that's won 23 games in a row and won a New Year's Six bowl, finish an undefeated season. That's the guy you're looking for.
Well said. Well said. All right, that's a wrap for us. We're done. We're coming back. We'll be live.
Hey, one thing real quick, just a little, because it just came on across Twitter as we were talking, that Kevon Glenn. Kevon. I can never get that right. He has transferred. He announced that he's transferring to Troy.
Okay. All right, man. Well, I'd say he could hang out with LaDamian Webb, but LaDamian Webb's no longer there, so it's a bit of a bummer.
Yeah, right.
Florida State baseball was in action on Wednesday. We're recording this a little bit earlier, so we don't have the result of that game. We'll be sure to talk about it when we do the live show on Thursday. Also, we'll have, I'm sure, a game thread, but it doesn't matter because the game's over by the time you're listening to this. But we covered it. Trust me, we cover baseball. We love it. We love everything at Florida State. I assure you of that. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. We'll talk to you all tomorrow. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee.
Warchant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. Warchant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WARCHANT30. That's WARCHANT30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WARCHANT30. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.